I like also the fact that he plays his daughter too. I did not catch that when I first watched.
Wait,
it.
what? Come on.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't.
What?
Yeah, he's like, Mom. That's also Michael J. Fox.
You're right.
Allowed
I'm looking
to go
at-
to West Hollywood.
I
then.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're being.
That's
Yeah, and it-
Michael J. Fox is that good. Hey, gang.
You can tell we're.
This is super relevant to what we were just talking about. Did you hear they're going to make a Star Wars and Back to the Future crossover?
We're starting.
It's about a character who's seriously hurt in an accident and becomes half man, half car. It's called The Mandalorian.
Oh, nice. That's actually pretty darn genius. I love it. I love how you found a pun that has to do with Star Wars and with Back to the Future.
Yeah, because we're doing both the original Star Wars trilogy and the Back to the Future trilogy kind of back to back here. So
this is actually pretty genius,
Yeah.
I'll say.
anyway, well, I'm drinking another beer because it's been a long week. I'm doing Warsteiner. It's a German Pilsner.
Warsteiner. I
Yes.
could have been at home.
You could have been, and now you're
could have
here
been at home.
listening to my awful puns.
What are you
But
drinking?
I'm drinking Trader Joe's Simpler Times, and we're both drinking our favorite.
LaCroix.
LaCroix.
Yep.
We all
I got one
love,
for
which
later,
we
too.
found out was actually LaCroix
Yes.
because of the islands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like St. Croix. And
Interesting.
Oh, interesting. But also the owner of LaCroix said it's LaCroix.
correct
Yes,
pronunciation. So what are we here for, John?
We are discussing Back to the Future Part 2. Yes. And feel free as you're listening to this or after you listen to it, or if you traveled back in time and doing this before you listen to it, feel free to drop us a line with comments, questions, anger, joy, love, hope, despair at antimattermovies@gmail.com or in the comments below. Leave a positive review wherever you might be listening / watching to us. Watching to us. Watching us.
Washington.
I should redo that, but I'm not going to.
I don't watch
No,
it.
Yes,
we want
actually
to keep it
almost
natural.
amusing.
We want to be raw on
Yeah,
this podcast.
I think so.
Because we shoot right now. We're shooting all this video raw. We only do raw here on the Antimatter Movies podcast.
Well, I think if people are movie nerds, they will understand what raw means. But
Good.
David, we're recasting Evan, just like in Back to the Future Part 2 of 2 of the
Oh
roles.
God, that was so. Yeah, we should get into that.
And that was not rehearsed, by the way. That was supernatural.
Oh,
Like not supernatural as in spiritual, because we're doing
no.
well, I'll say like that, like about talking about recasting. I know that they said that they regretted that in the first part and Back to the Future
Crispin.
Part 1. No, not about Crispin Glover. This we'll get to him later.
Elizabeth
but
Shue.
I'm talking about Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, yeah.
and how they had to recast her, but also the fact that they took the girlfriend in the car at the end of Part 1 for Part 2 because then they got kind of stuck with it. And I know that they talked about that whole thing, that it was just like a big crutch for them.
So
Yeah.
I
I have to interrupt because Elizabeth Shue, I love you.
oh no, she was awesome.
okay. I think we all love Elizabeth Shue. Adventures in Babysitting. Everybody wanted her to
Karate
be your
Kid?
babysitter. Karate Kid. Everybody wanted her to be your girlfriend.
Don't forget about The Boys.
Oh,
I've not.
I would love to cosplay as Homelander, and if
just
I have a girlfriend during the cosplay, she would cosplay as Elizabeth Shue's character.
Well, I guess we can all agree we love
Evan, you need to watch The Boys.
Elizabeth Shue.
yeah. The
I don't
Boys
know.
is really good. It's really
You need to
dark.
watch
but
it, yeah.
Isn't it like Nazis or something?
There's some stuff. It's a lot deeper than that, but that's not talking about Nazis right now. Not yet.
Okay, so anyway,
yes.
Elizabeth Shue, if I can for a 2nd which David and I had talked about for a split second before you actually got back in here. I apologize. Claudia Wells.
Yes, Claudia Wells. And I know that she had to, she basically wasn't able to return for Part 2 because her mom was sick at the time, so she had to take care of her. And I think
And she was great.
yeah, but I think at the time too, maybe they didn't realize how big Back to the Future Part 2 and 3 would have been.
Right.
And she probably really regrets it because I've been to a bunch of conventions and I've seen her live and she
David is the number one fan among the three of us.
oh yeah.
But I will say this before we continue on. I will say that She made the right choice because spending time with loved ones and making sure they're okay is
family
more
is
important
number one.
than anything
Yes,
else.
yes,
more than
absolutely.
anything else.
But I think it did kind of ruin her career at some.
Yeah, we haven't seen her in anything else.
She hasn't
Which is a shame.
done much after. Yeah.
Let's be positive though and talk about Crispin Glover.
Actually, I love him. I snowboarded behind him on a chairlift at Big Bear.
Was he a good snowboarder?
I didn't get to see him snowboard, but like going back to the thing of how many people were not impressed with, but there are people like Eric Idle and like obscure people that we're all obsessed with, like that we would be impressed with. Crispin Glover was one of those people where I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm on the chairlift behind Crispin Glover.
He's great, but I guess there was like disputes over salary or something like that that made him not come.
He wanted to get paid as much as, let's say, Michael J. Fox.
I think so.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
You're no Michael. I have met Michael J. Fox, sir, and you are no Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, but I mean, they really had to change the script quite a lot.
Yeah.
I may have mentioned this before, but they were supposed to go back into the 60s, and there was a whole scene in the mall in the future in the first draft of the script, because you can find it online.
You telling me this.
Yeah, and he had like a much bigger part in it, and George and Lorraine were supposed to be hippies back in the 60s, and then once he didn't accept coming back for the second part, they just found this whole thing where they could just cast an actor, flip him upside down, and say that he hurt his back.
Right.
And I honestly didn't notice that it was another actor until years later, and I bought the DVDs and they talked about it.
I was seriously looking to see if I could tell, and I'm like, I can't tell.
Well, they aged him so much too.
Yeah. So it's like,
I froze it. Honest to God, if I have to admit, like in the beginning, because we watch all these obviously again before we talk to you guys and talk with each other, I froze it. So he sees the 4x4. He says, "Oh, Jennifer," she says, "Oh, it's like you haven't seen me for a week, whatever." And there's a quick cut of the parents at the door, and I froze it. And I was like, "Oh my God, is that Crispin?" And I could not tell, but I know. It couldn't have been him because he didn't agree to do to, and he's upside down.
Yeah,
and blah, blah, blah.
I think they also did good with the hair, the same hairstyle.
Well, did you know that?
Them.
Yeah, exactly. And that lawsuit is actually really important for what's happening.
I think.
Yeah, he won. For what's happening today, there's clauses now in SAG contracts
of, AI.
For using likenesses. So now we have deep fakes going on, stuff like that. So it's helped actors retain control of their digital likenesses as we move forward and stuff like that. So it's really important this happened.
I think especially now that the deepfakes are getting better and better, at some point they will be able to, I don't know, let's say in 20 years, there's some actors that have passed away and they're just going to be able to
they can already do it about, what would you say, about 85, 90% if we're being critical?
I don't know.
They do it pretty well, but sometimes you see how, for example, in some Disney films, how they de-aged Princess Leia and stuff like that, but then the fans will do a deepfake that looks better than what Disney did. But the point of that, technology-wise, I've read, because I read a lot of stuff about tech, is the fact that these big companies like Universal, Disney, and all that, they have their proprietary way of doing it. And even though there might be better ways, since they spent so many millions of dollars to develop that technology, they have to use their technology, even though it might give a less good result than something that's already out there, which is kind of interesting. But I think at some point, their technology is going to be leaps and bounds better than anything else. And I think probably even if you see, I'm guessing even the new Indiana Jones that's coming out, just in the trailers, Harrison Ford looks amazing.
Wait, there's new Indiana Jones? There's only 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, they're doing a...
I don't know.
I don't know.
Really fast before we get off tangent too much, my favorite deepfake channel, I forget the name of the channel, I'm sorry. Actually, I should look while I'm talking about it. Is they take Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and put them into movies like Step Brothers.
That.
What is it?
Yeah,
it's
It's really good.
funny.
It's hilarious.
My favorite.
Are we best friends now?
My favorites are the Tom Cruise one.
Yeah, there's Keanu Reeves. There's a channel on TikTok that does that.
Yeah.
Really good.
There's another one where
is it Brian Monarch? Yeah, it's so. Oh, he put Arnold Schwarzenegger in Waterboy and everything like that, and it's just good. Like Dumb and Dumber with Stallone and Schwarzenegger. I mean, how beautiful is that?
It is beautiful.
Going back,
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dr. Evil.
Does he
funny.
pet the cat?
Yeah. They have him as Mini-Me Oh man.
Well, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, so mini you is what, like 5'9"?
Yeah.
Mini you is Tom
Well, it
5'7", Tom
It
Cruise.
should be Danny DeVito being mini me.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
DeVito's
actually
like
be
5'4"
hilarious.
or something.
Oh, we have to talk about twins one day.
My uncle did twins.
Oh,
also.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Camera operator, right?
Camera.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's a very, very
You
iconic
did
film.
And I'm looking at just like, it's so good. You have Schwarzenegger as Will Ferrell's part, and you have Stallone as John C. Reilly's part. It looks so good. I almost can't tell. I mean, I can, but like
So you're saying we got a deep fake Crispin Glover and
into Back to the Future Part 2 and get sued by him.
Yeah, let's do it.
Anyway, let's move forward here. So when we talked about Back to the Future Part 1, I always talk about how it's so weird how slow I feel like Part 1 starts.
Well, now.
Because I'm used to Part 2 because it just, bam, where you're going.
One is still my favorite.
It's 100 miles an hour, but I kind of see the Back to the Future trilogy almost as one film in a way.
Yeah. Well,
and
really.
I don't hate it.
No, absolutely.
And there are trilogies that we talked about in another trilogy podcast that like I don't hate, but I'm like,
well, I remember
Back to the Future is near perfect.
Even as a kid, to be honest, I had Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 that I had taped from TV, and I had had like literally like waited for like the moment where Part 2 becomes Part 2, and I had like
and Doc
hit
pulls
record, and I like literally like pretty much almost matched
so
it.
you
where
could watch it
I
all
could
the way
watch
through?
it like all the way through. That's pretty cool.
Adorable. That's
Yeah.
amazing. As a filmmaker, I love that.
And back in the day too, when you record, like it goes a couple seconds back, a couple seconds forward, but you got
dialed
those
it in.
timings so good that you're like, okay, I got this.
I think this is like the first time they ever filmed 2 sequels back to back, actually.
Yeah,
Back to the Future is.
Yeah. First time they ever did that.
They
so.
did 2 and 3 simultaneous. And what was amazing from an inspiration point of view, because that's what we're talking about initially at this podcast, is the idea of refilming things, which goes back to the Claudia Wells, Elizabeth Shue thing. The idea of refilming things and then inserting a character into it, and that technology, while it doesn't sound like any big deal now, was a pretty cool, pretty interesting thing back then. And I didn't notice, hand to God, I did not notice that Elizabeth Shue had replaced Claudia Wells.
Yeah, as a kid, honestly,
I loved the series so much.
I didn't notice it either. Just I guess they got the.
I felt bad.
They got the wig ride. They got the.
Well, my ex-girlfriend, she has, when I started dating, she was 8, a daughter. No, her daughter, my ex's daughter.
Yeah,
Jeez,
okay.
no,
We're gonna give him a second to explain
no.
that.
She's like 11 now, but she'd never
The
seen them.
girl's
So,
daughter of the woman he dated.
Yeah,
Yes,
the girl's
yes.
daughter is 11.
so she'd never seen Back to the Future, so I watched all 3 with her.
So
she picked up right away that she's like, wait a second, what? That's not
did
the
she
same person.
Oh,
She picked it up. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
So it's there. I mean, I'm sure some people
11
realize
years
this.
old.
well,
She would have been like maybe 9 or so, I think. 9 or 10.
She
when
was
we
like,
watched
oh,
it.
same character, different.
we'll say that TVs are a little bit bigger nowadays, and they're a little less crazy.
Yeah, she's able to tell. Yeah. But she's also a very smart girl, so she
Yeah.
probably noticed right away.
But like the mix, also, that kind of thing about reshooting things, that was inspirational to me. Also inspirational to me was the script itself. Like, okay, you can actually reinvent things.
Yeah.
And not take away
Yeah.
from the original.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they kicked themselves in the butt when they did Part 2 and 3, and then they had to go back into 1955 because they had to recreate all these scenes too from another perspective. But imagine if they had shot Part 1
if
and
they
Part
had
2
known
together
and done 1,
they could
2,
have
and
just
3.
Yeah, they would have
that's
saved
thinking
so
like
much
a
money.
producer, my
Yeah.
friend.
But in a way, though, when I was watching it first time as a kid, like I assumed they had it planned out ahead of time because
Right.
it seemed it was mostly seamless.
Yeah, they got it so right. And I think didn't the set the Central Plaza where there's the clock tower and all that?
Yeah, where
Didn't
I filmed.
it like burn in between those because I know that
Let me see.
So the clock tower didn't burn. There was damage at Universal. I don't remember exactly what it was.
but was it before shooting Part 2 and 3 or was it after
It
Part 2
was
and 3?
after 1. It was between 2 and 3. I think they had started. They were gonna shoot 2, if I remember correctly. But I will tell you this. Did you?
I'm looking it up right now.
Power of the internet.
It's Magic.
Oh,
I'm looking. Guys, keep talking while I'm looking.
Oh, okay. We're just gonna. I thought you would edit this.
Well, we're gonna leave it in now so we can talk about this. Go. Come on, go. Talk.
I do find it.
Tower.
I do find it amazing that they still they kept this. The set is still there. When you go on the bus tour
my
at
God.
Universal, they still rebuild it. They still use it because I think it's one of the most, if not the most beloved set.
It's pretty iconic, and it's the basic square. There is I was there for Weird Science, the series on USA. I was there for Sliders, one of your favorites, with Jerry, who we actually worked with on an indie thing.
Name drop.
Humble brag. Jerry O'Connell, who we worked with. And it was there, and we loved it. I did a thing. What the hell was I on? I was on something else, and I was an extra on it. And I was inside the
clock tower,
the doors.
It's pretty bare inside. I've been
it's
inside
ridiculous.
too.
It's like 2x4s and rusty nails, and like it's ridiculous. But I was there. But before, when I was on Weird Science and on USA Network for Sliders, sorry, reverse that. Cancel. Sliders. Yeah, it was very cool just to be there.
Yeah,
but like the movie theater,
and also like one thing that was one of my childhood fantasies, and that kind of came true, was when I went to Universal Studios as a kid, and they have a part of the special effects tour where it's a sort of show. You sit down, but they have the whole clock tower scene, so you can try putting back the electricity.
I never got to see that.
They always pick somebody from the audience to play the part of Doc, and
that sucks.
That's one of my favorite parts.
I was doing one of the shows on USA Network, and we were on stages 5 and 20. And at lunch, just for poops and giggles,
good catch there, Evan.
Shoots and giggles,
snakes and ladders.
Extras and other people that were visiting the set would walk up to the park, and they would go on the Back to the Future ride or whatever it was, and blah blah blah. And I was like always jealous of that, and I never did it. But
yeah, I was lucky enough to have been on the ride a bunch of times as a kid, as a teenager, and then also when I first moved to America, I knew someone who worked at the Universal lot. It was one of the employees of Universal, and I was allowed to walk on the whole lot without, because now they have the tours, obviously, because you can pay a lot of money and do it, but I was able to go into the clock tower, walk pretty much everywhere, see the Lion Estates. And when the Back to the Future car was still there before they restored
the
it,
number one car,
was able to walk to it and all that. So that was really nice.
Did you touch it and like,
I mean, I kept a part of it. I mean, it's I wish I did. Actually.
I had a private moment with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
One day I shall buy that car.
Yeah.
But
David actually is going to get one.
Yeah, I believe it. It's going to happen. I never realized it until the rewatch it a couple days ago. The entire trilogy takes place over 2 weeks, yet also only one day.
Wait, what? You're going to have to tell me that again.
So the first movie takes place over a week.
October.
When he's there, when he's stuck in the past. This takes place, I mean, basically over a day, I think, in terms of from Marty's perspective.
From 1985 perspective, it does happen over one day.
But for 55, that's
over like
3 days.
That's a week, I thought.
It's a week.
Yeah,
it's a week.
Then
because he says, "Oh, great, I'm going to be able to visit 1955 and all that stuff." And he's like, "No, you can't. You can't interact with the people over here because you're going to create."
Right. So is it a week or is it 3 days?
It's like a week.
Yeah, but then I assume part 3 probably takes place over a week as well, from 1885 perspective, right?
I don't even remember 3 until we.
I don't think they specified the exact amount of days, but definitely it's over.
Yeah, but again,
it's got to be more than 2.
Yeah, so it's like basically 2 weeks or so from Marty's perspective, but from 1985 perspective, 1 day takes place over.
I feel sorry for Einstein.
Yeah, I think you are right.
Wait,
it is
the actual person or the dog?
Both.
Both? Why do you feel sorry for Einstein the person? He changed our entire perspective of science, and
oh, he was amazing.
Is it because of his hair?
I didn't like his hair.
I thought his hair was awesome.
Are we talking about the dog? Or are we talking about the person's dog? Okay,
the dog.
And also, like the first dog is called Copernicus.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of rude to Einstein.
No, but is it that
The person,
Copernicus
not the
died and he bought the same dog, or did the dog live for 30
No, I think
years?
there were 2 dogs. Were there?
I mean,
not?
no.
Can you really buy a dog? Can you own another living being?
I don't
know. But
I don't know.
I don't like saying I own a dog. I'm the dog's caretaker or master.
I'm still trying to own myself.
But in the movie though, like he also says, like there's a part where Doc Brown talks about his dog in the 80s, and it's like, oh my God, he's still alive, or whatever. So he kind of thinks that we kind of assume it's the same dog, but I thought it was like, it's a kid's movie in a way.
Yeah.
So they just didn't want to say that the dog is not going to live like 30 years. Otherwise, that's probably like the oldest dog ever, and he looks super healthy.
Yeah.
Could we just like redo the whole thing and make it like Dog Brown? Like everybody in the movie has dogs?
Evan, I think we're going to create a little like tradition here on the podcast where I'm going to fire you for at least once every episode.
Like Dog Brown. Dog Brown is
Well,
terrible.
I think they should make some sequels with Jules and Verne.
Yeah, let's keep the
kind of
puns to the beginning of the episode. I'm kidding, obviously.
They're all bad.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
bad.
But
Beginning, middle, end.
back to Back to the Future Part 2.
Talk about the future because this is the only one of the movies that actually goes to the future.
And
Which is
past.
actually now our past because the distant year 2015
It's now gone.
Where are our hoverboards?
Yeah, I was. You know what? I was literally just gonna ask you that.
Our flying cars, our hologram technology.
Although it's close.
Well, they've managed to make hoverboards.
With wheels.
No. There's actual hoverboards, but it has to be on a sort of surface that's magnetized in a certain way.
Yeah.
It's cold, like it's with cold. Yeah, haven't you seen?
Cold fusion.
No, it's not cold fusion, but it's at a very very cold temperature. Then you can actually get levitation, and they've managed to make platforms, and they had a bunch of videos.
Oh, really?
with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can go and prove that the Earth is not flat in Antarctica on a hoverboard.
I mean,
the Earth isn't
different.
flat?
Oh,
It's-
it's really you're just learning this.
I didn't know that.
It also has to be with it has to be done. It has to be done with current.
joking.
And that's
Yeah.
why, like for example, there's you can buy model cars of DeLorean that float, and you can actually have it at home.
Yeah.
But it's with electricity, and it's actually really hard to balance because it really
Yeah.
slips pretty fast. And yeah, they did manage. There's a bunch of things. In 2015 was like a big thing, so they said, okay, we'll do it for real, and they actually did manage to do it for real. But it has to be like it's pretty hard to do it.
I doubt Mattel is selling those toys.
No,
yet.
no way.
But I guarantee you they were inspired by Star Wars.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Star Wars
definitely.
basically was like that. Side note, wouldn't it be hilarious if I made that flat Earth joke if I become like a major person in the flat Earth
Hey,
community?
we might get a bunch of viewers.
The Earth is round 100%. There's no question whatsoever.
What?
Just
Where's
to
your
clarify,
flat globe?
Yeah, but why can't we go to Antarctica?
I mean, you can go right now. Mr. Beast did it.
Yeah, but that's Mr. Beast.
We can go right
But,
now.
what about the
Actually,
North
that's-
Pole?
What he's saying is kind of actually.
Why would you
true.
want to go there?
Well, that's kind of the thing that is interesting about it. There's no, this is legit. I'm
Yeah, I
agreeing
know.
with you for real. So there's like no expeditions, no travel, no, it's acknowledged by 23 nations. But like, if you wanted to go there, sorry, this is
North
a
Pole?
side thing. You
Yeah,
guys,
North Pole. Yeah.
Antarctica. Like if you just decided tomorrow,
You can go.
You can go to the South Pole. There are expeditions,
But I'm not crazy, right?
But
There-
the
you
North
can't
Pole
really-
is really, really hard. I don't think
Yeah.
it's
Well, you know why we can't go to the North Pole?
why.
because they're
Santa
flat.
Well, no, Santa Claus has
Sorry, I was
really
being funny.
like upped his like defenses. So if you try to go, you'll die.
Santa's a
sense.
badass.
He is.
He really is.
People don't know that. So getting back to the future.
Oh, I can go on. I can go about
One
Santa
thing
Claus.
that they did get right about the future, though, is the fact that the 80s would be trendy again. And
How are you get out of my head?
Get out of my standby.
maybe we've
Yeah,
been hanging
because
out too
that's
much.
actually what I
the
think
80s
about.
were in vogue. Like they were popular. It's like it's
Oh
30
my
year
god!
cycles
Like
though.
even neon green, neon pink,
Yeah.
neon
We're just now coming out of the 80s nostalgia, really, when you think about it.
barely.
Yeah.
Barely.
I mean, now we're going to get into early 90s nostalgia.
Well,
we're not already there.
things will
It's
be
so
legit.
weird.
I'm okay if we get back
Yeah.
into early 90s.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
but
with
but
that.
you,
Yeah.
I don't feel like the 90s is so different than now.
Yeah. It was, I remember
technology
around this
was already
time was when I
advanced.
became a yoga teacher. And I was
brag.
Yeah, I'm a yoga teacher. Deal with it. So I was hanging out with some of the
15 years perfect body.
Yeah. Not perfect. I'm drinking a beer right now. It's not perfect anymore. Trust me. I was hanging out with a bunch of the younger like yoga students there and stuff like that. They're all like 10 years younger than me, and they're like saying one time, "Oh, we're gonna go to an '80s theme party." And I looked at them like, "Were you even alive during the '80s?" They're like, "No, were you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was. I was born in 1983." January 22nd, 1983, the 10-year anniversary of the decision of Roe v. Wade where abortion was made legal.
Oh, you made it serious. I thought you were going to be like, I was trying to get Cynthia to kiss me.
Well.
Oh, okay.
Her name wasn't Cynthia. So, yes, they got... I love the Jaws joke. Like it's like Jaws, like 19. Yeah. This time it's really, really personal.
You know what?
And also the hologram that comes out like in 3D.
Oh, that.
Oh, it still looks fake.
No, it's even worse for me because
your uncle. Yeah.
Actually, yes, my uncle Joe Alves, honorary uncle, not blood, but still Joe Alves, did the shark and also Escape from New York.
Okay.
Art director and did the shark. So that shark coming out like and I was like,
still looks fake, yeah. But it was already making fun of sequels before franchises. Franchises got insane.
They were in the third one. Even.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised they haven't made more Jaws.
I'm surprised.
I guess they're
going to try.
They've done Sharknadoes and stuff.
They can't because Zemeckis and Gale have to have final approval. Remember?
Yeah.
But the best performance of any Back to the Future movie was that kid in the 80s cafe watching Marty McFly play the shooting game. He was like, wow, mister, you're really good at that.
Here, let me.
Are you talking about Elijah Wood?
Who?
Elijah Wood?
Okay, I know, Elijah. It's just so funny.
Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Mr. Frodo. Mr. Frodo. How's it going?
Hello, Bilbo.
Yeah. But I do like how they set up the third movie. Like they really like it shows that he's already a crack shot kind of in a way.
Right.
And they already established.
I don't remember the last scene.
Of what?
Of BTTF2.
Well, it's a trailer for next one. It's Doc Brown passes out when he sees Marty again.
And
then it's a trailer.
He sends Marty back to 1985, and then
he knocks
right
on
away.
The door.
Marty comes back from the side of the road.
Yes.
I wonder what it was like watching it in theaters, where you just finished it and like, wait, why are we already seeing footage from part 3?
Did either of you ever see any of them?
I saw part 3 in theaters.
I saw part 2 and part 3, and part 3 actually won tickets back in the day to see it before it came out in the movie theaters, which was like pretty darn awesome.
Well, I have a very special story for how I got to see Back to the Future Part 3 in theaters. I'm saving that for the next episode though, so stay tuned. It's a doozy. Oh my god. Anyway, did you catch the homage to Midnight Cowboy in this?
I did not. Are you talking about Midnight Cowboy with Robert Redford and fucking?
Where was the homage?
No, I'm talking the movie with Dustin Hoffman and John Voight.
No, I know the movie, but like, where was the homage?
Yeah, when Marty McFly's Jr., when he's walking, he's like, a cab almost hits, says, "Hey, I'm walking here."
Wasn't that what's his face that stole it from? Oh, wait, you're right.
Yeah, I am right.
Shoot.
Yeah, but it was originally Midnight Cowboy, improv. But yeah, it's one of the most famous lines, so of course they referenced that.
It was a cab that almost hit him.
Yeah, and the cab didn't know they were filming a movie, so.
Interesting.
I guess we'll talk about that one day.
Well, I forget how we got into that, actually.
Because Marty McFly Jr. says it when he's almost hit by a cab.
I'm walking here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, lame ass.
And I do kind of like the fact that his kid...
he's so totally
he's just like his dad. He's just like his dad back in the 50s.
Yeah, it skipped a generation, I suppose.
It skipped a generation.
Griff and,
Martin McFly. And then I like also the fact that he plays his daughter too. I did not catch that when I first watched.
Wait,
what? Come on.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I didn't.
What?
Yeah, he's like, Mom. That's also Michael J. Fox.
You're right.
I'm looking to go to West Hollywood.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're being...
Michael J. Fox is that good.
Because they developed the technology. They developed the technology.
He played his daughter. He played his character's daughter.
Yeah,
in it.
I know he did. Do you not?
I didn't know that.
But something that's more
Yeah.
amazing is
I thought his daughter was very attractive. I'll say
Stop
that, but I
it.
didn't know that was the reason.
Okay, you
but
guys.
think
stop
about
it.
this. They had to develop the technology to be able to put the three people together
Yes.
in that scene, and that's actually what amazes me the most.
It was seamless. I tried
Sorry,
looking to where the
that's great.
cuts were. It was great.
Yeah, they,
Are you guys serious? You didn't know that was
No, I
Michael?
didn't know.
well, he didn't know.
I didn't know.
What?
I didn't notice it.
But anyways, and apparently they used that same technology in Gladiator a few years later in order to
Oh.
create all the crowds around the arena.
Yes, yeah.
Back in the day.
Well, they do it in every movie now.
Yeah, they do it in
essentially.
every movie,
Yeah.
but it's pretty amazing for those days because you got to think they don't have CGI in the same way, but they created a sort of rail and camera. It wasn't a rail, but like a camera movement that was so precise in the air that it would like turn and move exactly where the other.
Oh, yeah.
So it was
like
the beginning of
robotic-
motion control
yeah.
cameras. They have to do
Exactly.
it now all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
yeah,
But actually, the crowd thing that a lot of people don't know is that's actually they shoot what are called plates, which we all shoot when we don't have enough people. What we do is we put everybody there. We shoot a plate of it, one frame of it for however many frames, and then we move on. Everybody moves to different places. We shoot another plate of it, and then we merge everything in post, as Jonathan knows, because God bless him, he does all.
Don't. You're giving me trauma. You're traumatizing me right now. I mean, if I was the one making this movie back in the day, I would have had like, no, you're not playing all these characters. You're just going to go ahead and we're casting people as your kids.
yeah.
Right.
And
So good for them.
also the subtle Pizza Hut
And upside down.
publicity that they had.
Yeah.
The whole film when they use that thing to hydrate the pizza so it becomes big.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, I
So
think that's pretty
stupid
awesome.
and so
Yeah.
cool.
I wonder how much.
No,
the
no one
sponsorship
can
cost.
hydrate a pizza like you, Mom.
Yeah. I mean, like, somebody argued for that crap.
Yeah.
Somebody was like, no, we got to have the pizza
But-
gag in there.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be like genius if you could actually hydrate stuff? Like they take away all the water, it never
One
goes
day.
back.
Oh,
Right,
dude,
really,
we're
yeah.
probably, I am not exaggerating. We're probably, 7 years off of that?
I don't,
maybe
I don't
six.
know. I
don't know.
I'm not a
I-
food specialist. I don't know.
We should
Okay,
ask.
well, I do have some
tell
specific
you what.
food
Tell you what.
knowledge.
9 years, 7 months,
Not 9
53
years,
days.
7 months, 53 days.
5 hours,
5,000.
43 minutes, and 17 seconds away.
To rent.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, they managed to hydrate cup of noodles and stuff like that.
that's true.
So
That's
that
not
works
food.
pretty well.
You know what the worst product placement of all time was?
What?
But
Cup of noodles in Final Fantasy 15.
Oh,
It was so bad
I am.
Well,
in
what
a video
happens?
game.
He's just like
in a
eating-
video
that's
game.
why, because
Yeah, you cook cup of noodles in a video game. Like, what am I even playing
yeah.
anymore?
I feel like that
Other
wouldn't
than
be part
Pepsi,
of the world.
what was in Back to the Future?
It's
too?
Pepsi.
Pizza Hut, Pepsi, Nike, Mattel.
Oh,
Nike was really big. Mattel
those
definitely was
shoes.
overboard.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted those shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody wanted those shoes, and they actually released those shoes
Yes,
too.
it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
I
4.
know they made a 2015 version that had like
I remember
laces
those.
that were automatic.
Yeah.
And then if you go,
I must have been busy doing something.
yeah,
cool.
if you go to AliExpress and stuff like that, you can find kind of like bootleg versions of it. So if you can
Right.
have
Yeah.
cheap versions of it, you can buy it. It won't have the self-lacing shoes, but it's good.
That's what we all wanted.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, but when you have to buy the original ones and they cost, I don't know, $10,000. I don't know if I can legitimately.
One day
yeah.
we'll get it. One
$10,000.
day. Hey, if Nicolas Cage can buy a dinosaur skull, you can get knockoff
Self-
feature sneakers.
Oh, I thought we were going
No, I want to
for
get the
another
real
pun.
thing. I want to get the shoes that they used for the movie.
You will get them one day. So speaking of money and the future, Biff, who I said previously is my favorite character in Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
Yes, controversially, yes.
Yes. Biff is an interesting character in this.
Oh.
Yes.
You know, in the real 1985, he's a what's the word I'm looking for?
Dick.
He's very much beaten.
Oh,
But
defeated.
that rage that was building inside of him.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
but
get to know
I-
more
I-
about his character in this.
I almost feel like in the 1955 version of Biff, you almost feel sorry for him. He's living with his grandma.
He's a guy that doesn't know.
Obviously, his parents probably abandoned him or
Right.
something.
He probably was
He's had a hard
circumstance.
time. You know, he's a bully because
He's still an
He needs-
a-hole.
Yeah.
He needs to do it too.
Yeah.
Like he
And it's
doesn't know
sort
how
of
to
like
express it in any other way.
It's a falling out from the fact his grandfather, who we meet in part 3, I assume
Yeah.
it's his grandfather,
Yeah.
was an outlaw, and that those decisions probably ruined his descendants and stuff
tree.
like that.
Yeah.
100% it did. Yeah. You
Yeah.
feel bad for him, and that rage that builds up inside of him
Mm-hmm.
comes to fruition in 2015, and he sees an opening. He takes it to rewrite his past
Yeah.
and fixes. So he really is a darker version of Marty McFly. He sees it and takes it.
But
You know-
we never root for him or truly understand him.
Oh no, because he's the main antagonist, of course.
Yeah.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day,
But he is a master class in acting, though, I must say.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly,
Thomas F. Wilson?
oh yeah, the different types of characters that he portrays in it. I mean, he always plays the mean bully guy, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's just so different. And there's the age also that's being played in all of them. So he plays an old man, middle-aged man, young man.
and his grandson,
Yeah,
who's so
Right.
weird and
Yes.
spastic, who's
Yeah.
right there.
And
Yeah,
then
Griff.
waxing the car. And
Yeah,
yeah.
But so how he is in 1985. I hear he was based on somebody, and
Oh, geez. Who could that somebody
Oh yeah,
be?
yeah,
Who could
a
that
famous
person be?
1980s figure who was into real estate.
I feel like his hair looked fake to me.
I
and
feel-
that was
really
that was-
fake and the
like
fake
it was
tan.
distracting.
He kind of reminds me of a character in Home Alone 2 for some reason.
I remember
Yeah,
that,
right.
but I don't
Now,
think.
what was that kid's name?
Yeah, I
Something
wish
called
he,
Kid?
I wonder if he did anything else of his life. I can't think of anything. I heard he was on a reality show for a bit and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And
Well,
yeah,
maybe it has
we're
to
gonna
do
cut
with
that
that
too.
with that
Oh,
paper
we
that
shouldn't
that,
cut that.
Marty gets in 2015 that says you're fired.
You're fired.
Oh, I never
Maybe
got
a
that. I never got
precursor to
that.
something. I never got that
Maybe,
either.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, but I wonder what happened to the person that 1985 alternate Biff was based on. That doesn't matter at this point.
I don't know.
I
I don't know.
mean, that person, honestly, or that character, if we're actually getting back to like the writing of it, I don't know where you take that person other than just where he was presented, because he's like ruling this new world that's this alternate timeline, and Lorraine's got the fake boobs, and like poor Marty is like, oh my god, I'm involved in this. It's like the only thing you can do is like a conflict that we didn't actually see
Yeah,
with him.
yeah. But also, what is interesting is that we see this sort of dystopian world in 1985 in the alternate timeline, where you see Biff that has all this power, but you don't really see the rest of the world. I wonder if the rest of the world has been impacted by him. Does he
Right,
have so
is
much
he
power?
really that powerful?
Didn't they imply that he helped Nixon stay president?
I think they did. Yeah, you're right.
So,
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I mean, Nixon still being president. Who knows what was going on there?
Well, he effed up and took us off the gold
Oh, and wasn't-
standard. He
yeah, they
took
saw
us
the
out of
Vietnam- Yeah, they still no. Well,
Oh, what do you got?
in I'm looking at Wikipedia. I forgot about this in the movie.
No,
The
no, what do you
Vietnam War is still going on in 1980.
Oh, do they mention that?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nixon
So
got
bad.
us out of Vietnam,
Yeah.
right?
he did. Yes, he did. Yeah. So basically, you're saying that whoever alternate Biff was based on, if he was in charge, things would go bad in this country.
Yeah. But also,
Not in Russia.
also what's interesting
Yeah,
about
or Ukraine.
Or you?
one thing that they don't really talk about is the Gray Sports Almanac. But at some time, when he starts
love
changing so many things, wouldn't you think that the
No, you're
logistic-
right.
Or maybe,
right.
or maybe if they're still publishing that book in the future, it would keep on changing
Yeah, it would.
because that book still would exist.
Well, I mean,
that's a good
like,
theory,
let's
too.
suppose if we're really in the script, yeah, it would, because his hand, and
Yeah,
the photograph
exactly. So
and
that-
everything
that
for
still
the
makes
first
sense.
one. So
it is paper from the future.
But
so as
he
long
would
as
have
they
made his
publish it.
millions before it started becoming
That's
useless.
true.
So you're right. So probably at that time period, it would have been completely useless.
Yeah, he doesn't even need it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually, that scene is pretty cool when Marty comes and says, do you have the book? And he's like, he opens his safe really slowly
Yeah.
and said, like, this old man came
in the
in
office.
the 1950s and gave me this book. And he said that one
wild-eyed.
day there's this wild-eyed, yeah, exactly.
Scientist.
And then he like takes it out and gives it to him and is like, no,
Yeah.
it's pretty, it's dark. It's really dark. And he's
And
like, I never
actually-
thought it would have been you,
And when he's in the office and he just throws it in the trash can like it's nothing.
I don't know what else do we want to say about alternate 1985.
I think that without 1985, obviously they wouldn't have gone back to 1955, which for me is the best part of the
100%,
film.
yeah.
Because we kind of talked about it, but I don't think that they ever did a movie from seeing scenes from a previous sequel from another point of view, which I think is pretty cool. Maybe did Twilight Zone back in the 50s or something when they released it? Did they
reshoot stuff like that?
I wonder.
I think this is the only thing that's ever done that before. I could be wrong, but if anyone who's listening,
recasted,
if anyone's listening knows of another example where they've done that, please let us know.
Please tell us.
I know there probably has been. I'm guessing because time travel is such a big staple now in science fiction,
right?
But who knows?
This was going back to the inspiration and filmmaking and all that, as well as being a fan. This is one of the first movies that I was like, oh, this is really cool because they embraced the time travel in the second one, and we lived in it, and we got to experience like, what'll it be like? Oh, you'll have hoverboards, and you'll have this, and you'll have that, and whatever. Whereas Back to the Future, ironically, we didn't get any as viewers. Yeah. We didn't get any of the benefit. We got how much things have changed since the 50s.
Yeah.
But in 2, we're like, there's hoverboards. There's Elijah Wood at a freaking whatever. There's all these cool things, cafe. Which we didn't get.
And also, I wonder if Marty hadn't come back to Doc Brown in 1955 and continued the adventure for another couple of days, would Doc Brown have read that letter that he tore?
Maybe.
Well,
what is that the first one we saw the positives of changing the past and everything like that. Here we see the negatives, but what could happen, because it's like,
oh my god,
time travel. I mean, if time travel could actually exist and you could change the past,
lying to safe,
super duper dangerous. Can you imagine that? Like what that would do?
Oh my god,
to everything. Like, I mean, and they don't even get into the minutia. Where like, really, after the first one, Marty went back and changed the events of his parents' lives. He wouldn't exist. He still wouldn't exist because
they feed us like the little bit, like we open with the 4x4. We're like, this is great.
No. And they really established. Speaking of that, it's Marty not liking being called Chicken, which wasn't in the first movie at all. They had to create a new character arc for him to go through it.
I think it would have been funny actually, because when he comes back to 1985, obviously the parents are cool. So all the circumstances of like being conceived have been different. So it wouldn't have been Marty. It could have been, so they could have slightly changed him too.
They could have,
It would have been kind of funny.
Yeah.
Imagine he wakes up and he's like very obese.
Oh, that makes me think maybe original Marty, before he changed the past, didn't have a problem being called Chicken. But then when he changed the past, it changed his personality just very slightly.
That's really interesting from a writing point of view.
Let's contact them and ask them if that was the case.
Yeah, because
they're like, you guys are way overthinking this. I'm like, yeah, we're doing a podcast where we talk for an hour about a movie. Of course, we're gonna overthink everything we talk about.
They did get the nostalgia of Michael Jackson right in the 80s cafe.
They did,
though, which I thought was pretty.
Oh
cool.
my gosh! Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Wait, when did Michael Jackson die?
Cafe 80s.
When did
he died in 2010.
10?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, you know what's freaky, by the way, in Blade Runner? It takes place in 2018 or whatever. So the actor who played Roy Batty, Rutger Hauer, died the same year Blade Runner took place. When his character died.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy to think about it like that?
That's weird.
That's pretty weird, I think.
That house was up the street from me.
Yeah.
In Los Feliz.
Oh, interesting.
He died in 2009, Michael Jackson.
Was it 2009?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gosh, he's been dead for over 10 years. That's crazy.
That's weird. I remember my ex calling me.
I was like, Rutger Hauer died in 2019, actually. It was weird. I actually worked with this one artist. She was by Mahogany Locks. She's the granddaughter of, who founded Motown Records again?
Berry Gordy.
Yeah, granddaughter of Berry Gordy. So we were working and her mom was around and we were talking and she's like, you know how they said that Michael Jackson attended his own funeral and stuff like that? That was me. Yeah, so like, she was bragging about it. I'm like, why are you bragging about people mistaking you for Michael Jackson? Like, okay.
That's a real thing.
That is kind of
It's a real thing, yeah. the stories we all have between us. It's ridiculous. But yes. So then, in case anyone forgets who's listening who hasn't reviewed it, so Marty McFly gets the idea. He buys a sports almanac that talks about all the teams who are going to win from 1950 to 2000. And then Doc Brown gets mad at him and throws it in the trash. Biff picks it up, steals the time machine, goes back to the previous movie, 1955, gives it to him, and then it changes everything. How did Biff know how to use a time machine?
I always kind of found that annoying.
Yeah, it's like, well, I know he backs up and hits something, but then he goes,
granted,
what?
It does say where you are, where you're going, where you've been.
I guess he might be smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think it's that complicated. Yeah. I think we kind of also have to accept it. And the thing is, who knows if maybe he even was able. Maybe he took some detours on the way. I don't know. Well, we don't really know exactly what happened. But what is kind of interesting is the fact that he goes back to that date where you know.
Well, he sees it as like, because in the future they visit, like this is the new future that Marty altered, obviously. Yeah. So he probably sees that as the worst day of his life. Because Biff is have you guys met someone and you can tell right away, oh, you peaked in high school. Like Biff peaked in high school. And for him, he sees that as the worst day of his life where everything went wrong. So of course he'd go back to that day.
But in the first version of 1985, he did not peak in high school.
Yeah, of course.
Because he becomes a boss.
But now we're in the alternate version that was created. And I see old Biff as being much more intelligent. Like you can see he thinks things through and he realizes the folly of his youth. Yeah. And he wishes he could go back and change things and he gets that opportunity.
But he kind of becomes a lackey for his grandson too, in a way, because he doesn't. It's like, go clean my car or whatever. I don't know. It just seems like
in the future, his
1995 version, he kind of stayed that way for his whole
and
life.
he wants to change it because there's this anger there.
Yeah, there's a lot of bent up anger, and he knows that he realizes finally that it's Marty and Doc that did this.
But he's still an amazing character because you understand where he's coming from and you can feel it, even though it's unstated.
Yeah, and I think that if he had known even what would happen in part 3, he might have gone even further to like stop him. Yeah. Oh, before I forget, probably my favorite thing about the feature is the fashion, because you have Marty McFly wearing 2 ties. I'm like, what? That's so weird. But it was fun. I also wonder, just thinking about it, and that would be also for part 3, but since he kind of gets over the fact that he, getting called a chicken and so he doesn't hurt his hand and all that stuff, does he actually become a famous musician in 2015 if there were an alternate universe? Because that seemed to have destroyed most of his life. Just you're right, hurting it, in the car accident. So that accident really like changed a lot for him.
I think he doesn't, right?
Well, it changes now after the third. We have to talk about that in the next episode.
Yeah,
but we're gonna have to discuss. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll save it for part 3.
Well, it's just because you do see Marty in 2015 with his hand. I think it's like a big part, and I think there's like a lot of regret, and I think that's why he steals from his company. He's just, I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Well, he'd be okay if Darth hadn't cut it off.
Yeah, right. Or he hadn't lost it for the first time in 19... There is something about hands, though, because he does lose it in 1955.
Star Wars, too. Joking, that's 3 times you've been fired this podcast episode. Congratulations. That's a new record there. Don't worry, I'll rehire you. It's okay. So then he goes back to 1955.
And I do like the joke with Doc Brown where he says he's going to dismantle the time machine. Yeah. And then he says, well, once you dismantle it, what are you going to do? And he's like, well, I'm going to study the biggest mystery in the universe, women.
Which, again, goes into part 3 because that's when he falls in love. He falls in love with her. Yeah.
Right, with Mary Steenburgen.
Yes. Yeah.
Because obviously he never found love, I guess, and he was already pretty old.
Yeah. Well, when you're hanging out with students with 15-year-old not kids. Getting out on the social scene.
But maybe Marty was also the kid he always wanted to have,
like his son. I got that.
There was nothing wrong between their relationship.
No, I was just being.
But it's kind of cool, and I think for Marty, he's this cool, crazy guy that does really cool inventions.
It's interesting that Marty is like a skateboarder, a rocker, and hangs out with a scientist.
He's like the coolest kid.
He
has a pretty girlfriend too. So.
And he has a pretty girlfriend. So he's like got everything.
There's nothing unlikable about Marty McFly. I mean, there's nothing unlikable about Michael J. Fox. Like
No.
Or I mean, you love Chris Lloyd too.
yeah, he's great. Oh, jeez, Rick, what are we gonna do? I don't remember, Morty. I think I'm gonna watch some episodes of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, and
Oh my God.
Well, I think also one thing to talk about that is a little bit sad is that the sister of Marty McFly died. In
the
real-
actress
in real life.
No, what the hell was her name?
She died before this came out, or
Mary Jo Spurger.
Yeah, either she was very sick at the time, or she died around that time. And I think that's why they don't like, because they had the brother come back as a drunk in 1985. You see the brother just like very briefly, but you never see.
And we never see Uncle Joey. Actually,
Yeah, but Uncle Joe, I think
Wendy
he
Jo
was,
Sperber.
Wendy Jo Sperber.
I
She died in
think
2005.
in 2005. But was she very very sick?
She was diagnosed with breast cancer in '97.
And she was on a series with Tom Hanks.
Was she?
The only reason I'm mentioning that is because I know in the
She was in Back to the Future Part 3, but she
was?
wasn't in Part 2.
interesting, because I know that in the making of on the DVDs they do mention that.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's why I kind of mentioned it, but I never like
she was
really
in Bosom
researched
Buddies
it.
with Tom Hanks.
Bosom
You're right.
Buddies.
Yeah. Tom Hanks' like first major role, so to speak.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe she just didn't want to be part of it, or she wasn't trying to be an actress anymore.
Well,
who knows?
I don't know why.
I'm going to say something controversial because I think that's going to be the controversy. I'm going to say something controversial right Back to the Future movie. This is my favorite of the trilogy.
Really?
It is, yeah. It is.
Why?
Two?
It is, yeah.
Are you going to say Empire was too?
Empire is the best of the Star Wars trilogy, but my favorite is Return of the
I'll say
Jedi.
the best one was the Clone Wars.
Why is
You're fired, David.
why is BTTF2 your favorite?
You do realize it's more complicated to say BTTF than it is to say Back to the
It's
Future.
more
right?
syllables. Yes, I get that.
Well, I don't think there would be a BTTF 2 wouldn't make sense if you didn't see BTTF 1.
Yeah,
so.
but I just enjoy the tempo of this movie, and it just goes by so fast for me, and it just makes
More
me
so
appreciate.
than the, well,
Yes, it makes me appreciate the first one more.
sixth.
I just have more fun watching this one because I'm not like a big Back to the Future fan, to be honest with you. I mean, I love the movies and stuff like that, but when I tell the story for Part 3 about how I saw it, you'll understand why. But I just really like the world building. I like seeing the future, the meta humor that's involved and stuff like that.
Which is kind of what
And
I
it's
said
just-
about two.
Yeah,
Like, we
it's
get
just
to enjoy
better, I
the
think.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the first
I
one
I wanted to spend a bit more time in the future, to be honest, when I saw
Of course, I
part two.
think so.
you want to see the food rehydrating. You want to see the cool
there's just
shit.
like a lot of cool
Yeah,
stuff. And
it's just funny. There's some iffy
you
parts
really
about
didn't know it was him though. As a girl.
I didn't realize it.
No.
I'm gonna have to go rewatch it now.
I mean, honestly,
No,
as
we
a
just
kid,
gotta
I
keep you
didn't
away from
realize.
Yeah.
certain parts of town.
well, I'm still a kid
later.
at heart, so
Yeah, I thought it was funny. You know,
I love the trilogy, first, second, and third. As a filmmaker, the things that I love about it and that inspired me were in the first one, the script, just the idea of traveling somewhere. It's almost like He-Man, Masters of the Universe. I have the power. Everybody wants to feel powerful or feel something different than they feel in their world. In the second one, it was like, oh my God, like I can see the future. I can.
well, they deliver because the first one ends with a promise.
Yes.
Then the second one, I think, delivers more than we ever could have imagined.
Oh yeah.
It would have. Yeah.
he
So
gave us
that's why.
rehydrated.
Well,
Because how many movies do you watch, and then you hear they're making a sequel, and you see the sequel, I'm like, well, that was terrible.
yeah.
Yeah, this one, is it a perfect movie? No, it's not.
No.
But
No. Is it fun though?
yeah. So the only thing I can really remember mostly from watching these as a kid is just getting so excited to see what the second one's going to bring and being so wowed by it.
Yeah.
I
mean, I related to him.
yeah.
I shouldn't have, but I did.
to Marty McFly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody did.
Yeah. He's one of, like, almost the perfect protagonist.
That's a huge success as a screenwiter.
Yeah, I would say he's probably one of the best protagonists in cinema history.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
you look at like Luke Skywalker, it's like
Pretty
we like him,
up
but it's
there.
like, well, he's a whiny brat kind of.
Yeah,
you know,
but
stuff like that.
he was just so likable, to be honest.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox is so
Actually,
likable.
I wonder. Wait, let's think for a second. What do we got? Like 2 minutes?
We can go as long as we want.
I wonder, like, sorry, we're going to deviate for a second here. Is there...
This is more than the second.
Okay.
Yeah.
This also goes back to him saying...
And this is also helping making a sex joke inappropriately.
It's a millisecond because he wants actual time when we're using the camera.
Well, we are talking about time.
Okay.
Your
point.
So here's something, and I can make this joke because I'm Jewish.
Okay.
Never argue semantics of a Jew. You'll lose every single time.
You know, half the people aren't going to get that.
Well, they can research
funny
it.
as shit.
The half who do get it will subscribe. That's all I care about.
Okay,
So what did you want to deviate?
My favorites. I was actually just trying to think of like my favorite characters. Now, actually, my favorite characters overall. So it would be like Alex from Clockwork Orange. It would be Marty from.
It's so dark.
Okay.
Do you
Marty
actually
from-
empathize? Do you empathize with Alex from Clockwork Orange? Please say you don't.
No, he's supposed to be a psychopathic killer.
Why is he considered one of the best protagonists in your mind?
The way it's written is great.
I'll give you that. I mean, although I guarantee you there are people out there who actually think he's a likable character.
Yeah, well, that disturbs me.
Because if people think that Tyler Durden is someone to look up to in Fight Club,
Right.
you know, there's
He's
idiots
not.
out there who completely
not.
misunderstand.
Well, you're supposed to recognize in that, honestly, in my humble opinion, you're supposed to recognize the sadness in that, and that Tyler Durden, he's a great character, but he's a part of.
Yeah. Well, I will counter your tangent with it coming back around to the movie we're talking about, is even though Biff is the villain of it,
You like him.
you like him still.
You do.
You get him.
You
He
do.
never does anything horrible. Now, his
He's simple.
ancestor does horrible things.
Yeah,
of course,
I mean,
his
he kills
grandfather.
people and stuff.
Yeah, but
he's
Biff
simple.
itself, he's not like going out and
He is going out.
in the new-
murdering
but it's the
people.
far
in
west.
the new
trying to
alternate,
murder.
in the alternate 1985, where he's
Or 18.
based on a person that I can't remember his name off the top of my head right
Biff
now.
and Griffin.
Yeah.
Wasn't the Old West dude also Biff?
Oh, that's played by the same actor. Yeah.
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 But you
Thomas
get why
F. Wilson.
Biff is the way he is. So
Yeah.
yeah, and like many other people in this world, if you give them power, they'll get corrupted. So it's the way
absolutely.
it is. But
One thing that
Yes.
I'll say about the end of the movie when he gets his letter from Doc Brown,
I love that
30 years
part of the
later.
movie.
oh, it's
I
so
thought
good.
that was so cool, and I always
It's such a great movie.
I kind of researched a little bit if there were services that would have done something like that, and
Yeah.
I think there was.
You pay them enough money, they'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. And how cool would it be if we sent each other a letter right now and say, like, in 30 years at this place, you're gonna come and you're gonna deliver it.
You'll
to
be
this
doing a
guy.
podcast
Here's a funny
from
thing.
a studio garage.
When I was doing my first attempt to produce a feature film, it never got made, obviously. It was a really stressful time because I didn't know what I was doing, and no one else knew what they were. I thought they knew what they were doing, and they didn't. I said, wouldn't it be great if we believe in it hard enough, and if time travel is possible, and if it's invented in our lifetimes, one day my future self is going to show up with the completed movie and say, here it is. Here's a DVD. Don't tell anyone how you did it. Just say like, hey, good job. And here's the completed film. Now go release it and make your millions. Spoiler alert. It never happened because time travel is impossible. But yeah, if only we could have something like that happen where someone shows up with a letter like, hey, this is your future self telling you what to do.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, if only.
I don't remember the lines. He's like, this letter has been sitting around our office for 50
Well, he's like, no,
years.
I've got some. Hey, are you Marty McFly? I've got something for you. It's
Yeah,
like,
but then the big lesson is also like the future isn't written; it's whatever you make of it.
of course.
He says.
Well,
he
now
says-
we're still jumping ahead to part 3. But yeah.
But that kind of isn't allowed.
Well, that's what makes
the letter because they say in the letter he says, "This is where the car is. Go
I'm
straight
alive
back.
and well. I'm living.
Yeah, don't
in
worry about
18
me." Yeah. But if Marty hadn't gone back into the past, he would never have met Clara Clayton, and
Right.
Doc would never have
I
fallen in
think,
love. You know?
honestly, that's one of the things about this trilogy of movies and Back to the Future 2 specifically, where we transition, is that it's sweet. It's why.
Well, I feel like this film franchise, it plays into the idea of
It's America.
destiny, really.
Yeah.
Like the amount of variables to make sure Marty can get back in the first place or anything happening, like you feel like there's something else kind of guiding him. It's almost like Quantum Leap. Quantum Leap, where like there is some form of a higher power saying, "Hey,
there's that.
You need to go back and do this," because even if like the 1985 that Marty ends up creating, which is a good timeline for him and his family, he wouldn't be able to appreciate what he had unless he had gone back and helped make this happen.
And maybe in reality, you can never really change the past, the present, or the future. It was always meant to be.
Maybe we're all just a bunch of algorithms, or we're inside the matrix. Who knows?
Who knows?
What's the thing? The present. It's a gift. That's why they call it the present or whatever.
Something like that. I feel like we have to dedicate half of.
If you really get into the deep theory of relativity and all that, and you can kind of see that everything is happening at the same time, and then you're like, okay.
There's this crazy crackpot theory, which I don't think is accurate, but it's a cool thinking process. Is that this guy came up with the idea that the reason why every electron weighs exactly the same is there's only one electron, and it's just that it's moving so fast through space and time that it exists everywhere all at once, just one electron. So we all share.
I'm good with that.
We share that.
Oh,
I'm good with that.
So we're all based off one thing. This one subatomic particle.
I'm totally good with that.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. Again, I don't think there's any actual scientific.
is there any math to back it up?
No, there's not. It's a thought experiment.
A theory. Everything starts with a theory, anyways.
Yeah. Well, there's a big misunderstanding of what a theory actually is. So in science, we are going to. Then we'll end it. In science, a theory is one of the most well-researched and tested ideas in it. So when you say the scientific theory, say evolution, the theory of evolution, it's real.
Because you're seeing evolution even right now in front of your eyes.
Yeah, so it's not that everything starts as a theory, is that actually everything kind of ends as a theory in terms of science.
So according to your theory about time travel, so they say that if time travel was possible, we'd already have seen people time traveling, but because your theory is probably the one that's correct, where the Earth is moving so fast that if you time travel, you'd be in the middle of space. There's probably been a bunch of time travelers, but they've all died.
Oh, that's good. Oops.
I kind of agree with Jonathan because I read a book by Gary Zukav called The Elegant Universe. And one of the things that Gary Zukav talked about in The Elegant Universe is that, and he's a physicist, but I'm not going to go into all the stuff. But he said that he punched all the math up and figured it all out and whatever. So in theory, you should be able, if you could, hover at the event horizon, meaning you're not swallowed up into nor expelled out of a black hole. If you could hover at the event horizon of a black hole, relative to whatever planet you had come from, time would in essence have passed
you be traveling into the future.
By the same token, what Jonathan was saying, if you do a hyperspace jump or whatever, or even do a Michael J. Fox Back to the Future thing, what we're supposing in these wonderful movies is you really might not end up.
What you're saying is accurate.
If you're actually going to time travel, I think it would probably make more sense to time travel in space where there's a lot of emptiness, and then hope that when you time travel, there's not going to be something
there when you end up.
No, okay. So you can time travel into the future, as Evan was saying. You can go to a big source of gravity, hang out there.
Right.
You'll travel into the future. Traveling in the past, it
doesn't exist anymore, technically, even in the envelope.
Well, they said that some scientists said if you travel back in time, you blow up the universe. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops. And speaking of oops, I think it's time to wrap this up because we're nearing the end of the cameras.
Did we talk about what inspired us from this movie? I think we just talked about how much we loved it.
That's, I think, more than enough. Is that we love this movie?
I think that's more than enough, and we can always save some stuff for part 3.
Freaking creative.
There's a lot to talk about.
It's just like humor, comedy, everything. If you guys think that we should talk about this movie more, then email us at antimattermovies@gmail.com.
There's probably some
comment,
stuff.
Subscribe. Please.
I think that
please help us, because otherwise we're just talking to the void, although I'm used to talking into the abyss.
I think that, to be honest, it would be really interesting to get a scientist.
I just spent $100 on getting a nice sushi meal. You're not eating top ramen. Jeez.
You can't play along.
But what if we actually got a scientist one day to talk about time travel and stuff and see how plausible it would be?
I know.
I think that'd be like a physicist or something.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's get
He works for
what's his name? Who's the famous scientist?
Tyson.
Oh,
Mike Tyson.
yeah, Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson isn't a scientist. Unless you consider that.
Neil deGrasse Mike Tyson.
Unless you consider the sweet sport of boxing to be
He's a
science,
physicist with face tattoos.
Yeah. But I think he would have some pretty good points. So I think we should get you on the podcast.
So
That'd be really great.
Yes. Contact us.
Yeah.
antimattermovies@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'll answer.
All right. See y'all next time. We're going to be doing Return of the Jedi. Catch up on that. And it'll be a good time. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.